What's up, y'all? Um, I'm doing a little bit of a thing called romanticizing my life. Now, this is like very performative, um, and I know it, but it's performative for a reason. So, this is going on my philosophy talk channel because I do think that I'm going to have some kind of philosophical uh things to talk about. But y'all may be like, what's the reason for this romanticizing your life? And it's not really like a montage. Thing you're doing, you're not really doing anything. You're just sitting down right now. Yesterday I went outside. Yeah, touch grass. Um, I'm naturally a very introverted person. Like I barely see the sun. Like if I was a white person, I'm telling y'all right now, I'll be pale as drywall. Um, I barely go outside. I'm very introverted, and I like being inside. I'm not gonna necessarily say like I do love my alone time, but if y'all do know or if y'all do not know, I do live or my girlfriend does live with me. So like I do have a person here with me. But in terms of what I mean by alone time is I just like, staying to myself a lot of the time. Um Y'all see this shirt? Got an Oasis shirt. I'm not a poser. I do love Oasis. I went out to do some shopping yesterday and I had got I was trying to get like an emo fit. I got my first. Hold on, let me see if I can show you guys. I got my first straight leg pants, and I'm not that tall, y'all. I'm 5'7". It just looks like that. I got these now Birkins on. I tried to go for like a little emo fit. This isn't really emo because one Oasis isn't really an emo band. They're like a Brit pop band. Um, Now they may not like the fact that they're called Britpop. If you have done any like research on Oasis or anything like that, they probably more than likely like they're rock, right? But people, if you do a Google search, it's going to say they're Britpop, but they're rock. They're a rock band. But I try to do a little emo fit in the next couple. I'm thinking about making this a series in the next couple of series. I try my best, because I really have been wanting to get into more like emo fits. But maybe see, I was holding this book right here. This is a beautiful, beautiful book. This is the perform. It was upside down. This is the performative book of doom in terms of the way how it looks. Um, so yeah. The whole reason for this is just to get outside to talk to you guys and to, like I said, it is performative in the sense of like I don't naturally do this, right? I'm getting outside, I'm outside talking to you guys, and like I said, I don't normally go outside. I like being in the crib. Um, so but this is just to encourage you guys, right? To encourage y'all and to kind of encourage me. So a little updates. Um, I'm starting college soon. I'm going to college for creative writing, for video games, and what led me to that decision, it was a multitude of things. The biggest one you could say maybe was desperation, but um, desperation alone is not going to get you to the places you want to be. And the reason why I say that is because when you're desperate, you're grasping at straws. You're picking at everything that can kind of help you, that can give you some form of a future instead of taking like these more intentional, calculated steps. And so that leads into the second point of why I chose creative writing. In my opinion, my greatest strength is writing. If a little, I guess, background on me, I did music. I was trying to be like a rapper a while ago, a long time ago. I mean, I say long time ago, but it was for maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago. Stop. Do not start the jokes. Do not start the jokes. No, 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 6, 7. Um, but I've always liked writing. I love poetry. I loved like fictional stories. I've always liked writing in general. Um, I remember there was a time, a point where like I hated reading, but I loved writing, and I was like, really, what got me into reading. Shout out my ninth grade teacher for putting me on to Fahrenheit 451. That book right there is my all time favorite book. Yes, it is some nostalgia bias, but it also got me. But one, it's because it got me into reading. But two, um, it is one of my favorite topics in fictional, like or one of my favorite fictional themes, which is like censorship. Um, so shout out, to my ninth grade teacher, but then shout out to all my other high school teachers too. Uh, if it wasn't like literally, if it wasn't for me going to high school, I know that sounds crazy, but I would have never loved reading. In elementary school, middle school, I hated reading. I'm not gonna lie, especially when they made that like mandatory. But yeah, I've always liked writing, even when I didn't like reading. And I was like, you know what? I want to gain more knowledge on something that I feel is very strong. And then also, third point is I love games. I've been playing games since like I was 3 years old, plug and play games, PS1, PS2. And yeah, I'm not obviously it's like PS1. What the hell? You're not even that old, but older, older family members and their older consoles. PS1, PS2. I remember when my grandma. I don't know if you guys remember, but like when companies were making like these fake ass like Sega Genesis and like Nintendo SNESs. Uh it was like they had like all like 64 games on one console. It was one of those. So I played games for a long time, a lot of my life. Recently though, I feel like because of work and being tired and stuff like that, it's been harder for me to get into gaming or play games like I wanted to in terms of like beating them, finishing them. But I have been trying to challenge myself with at least playing a game a day or playing a game for an hour, 2 hours if I can spare. Um, so yeah, going to college. I guess another update. Why I haven't been uploading as much on my philosophical page? Why I haven't been making philosophical talks? I'll be real with you guys. I just haven't had the energy. I haven't had the energy to make any philosophical videos. I haven't had the energy to make any analysis, essays, anything like that. And that's where this came into play. Like last night, I was just sitting down and I was like, let me do something that requires like not only is it going to require me to sit here and talk in front of the camera like I usually do, but it's going to uh make me do something different in general. That's why I call this romanticizing my life. Because the romanticizing part probably isn't as performative as like other videos out there. That's like let's go and romanticize my life, and we're going to the store, guys. We're gonna go. Like I'm not a vloggy type of person. I do like my privacy. Um, I guess another update. I did come out here. I don't not got the locks no more. No, it's not because I was having some mental health issues. I just was tired of having locks, to be honest. But now on to Tao Ti Cheng, I think is how you pronounce it. Um, I picked this book up yesterday along with a plethora of manga. I've wanted this book for a while. It was in my Amazon wish list, but this book here is I wanted to get into like Chinese philosophy. This book here is a unique book. I think so far from what I read last night, some things are hit and miss. Some quotes are like very powerful and thought provoking, and then some quotes are very confusing. And this right here alone, I think, was enough to make me get back into like, yeah, I need to start like writing down more analysis and essays on certain things, especially books. This book here to put it because I'm going to talk about some of my favorite quotes. I'm not going to have like an in depth analysis about these things, but this book here I think is very unique in a sense of when I'm reading it. At least the feeling that I'm getting from this is a sense of like tranquility. Like most of the time when I'm reading philosophy books, I'm like deep in thought, but this philosophy book, and this is based in like Taoism, which is also like a Chinese religion and everything like that. But you can also take, I guess, like philosophical meanings from this. But this book also gives me a sense of like tranquility when I'm reading it. It doesn't feel like while it is thought provoking, it doesn't feel like it's like the book itself is telling me not to think too much. It's like read this, read these words, understand these things, but don't think too heavily on it, and don't like stress yourself out with it. And I find that funny. Maybe it's because of the Taoism. Even though I'm not a Taoist or anything like that, but this book also is very if we're going to be on a more literal standpoint, it is somewhat contradicting. I think it's because the way it 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 I don't know the best word to say, but the way that it I hope y'all can't hear them dogs barking. But the way that it I don't even remember what I was saying. But yeah, this book here, great. But we're finna get into some of my favorite quotes from this book. By the way, before we this is why I said it's the most performative book I've ever bought. Like, bruh, can y'all see that dude? So yeah, this is a performative book. I posted some of these quotes on my Instagram. Uh Hold on, let me have you guys up here because I don't know if y'all want that paper ASMR. But one of my favorite quotes that I guess made me think a lot, and I want to talk about here is hold on, gotta get to it. Um, I read a lot of this yesterday right here. One of my favorite quotes, page 39. Um, can you love people and lead them without forcing your will on them? When heaven gives and takes away, can you be content with the outcome? When you understand all things, can you step back from your own understanding? Giving birth and nourishing, making without possessing, expecting nothing in return, to grow yet not to control. This is the mysterious virtue. Now, why is this my favorite quote from this book right here? And then I want to talk about some things that I also found kind of confusing to wrap this up because I don't want to spend too long on here. But I think as people sometimes, like for example, where it says, "Can you step back from your